Good day, everyone. I hope you're hearing me. I'm just gonna make sure that the audio is working correctly. I hope you have a good evening. Tonight we're gonna be doing something a little bit different. Let me just double check, make sure that we're getting audio over here. All right, we have the audio. We're good on that side. Perfect. I hope you guys had a good month since we seen last time. Essentially, we're on our 13th episode here, so I figured, since it's following, well, Halloween, I might as well do something a little bit spooky. So why not? So I went ahead and wrote a little bit of write-ups on a couple of those challenges here on the Hack The Boo CTF that just went place back in October last month, basically. And I had a lot of fun. Too bad I did not have to spend as much time as I would like to, but I mean, f- good enough. The challenges, or most of the challenges, are still available, or they've been made available on the At the Box platform. And essentially, if you go, I'll show you guys here. Let me just switch my screen. So, if we go to the lab section on the HackTheBox webpage, we're able to go to the tracks, and essentially this is where it's all available for us. There's a couple of different CTF as well. There's the intro to Dante if you want to get ready for Dante, Blue Team if you're into that stuff. Cyber Apocalypse CTF, I sure have to revisit that one because that was sure a lot of fun. Um, the ActaBox CTF Owl's Hedge, the one that was for IoT Village at DEF CON. I did not have a chance to participate to this one, so it might be something worth checking out. And the business CTF Dirty Money, from what I heard, it was a lot of fun. And there's all these other tracks as well that you can try, but tonight we're gonna be concentrating on this one right here, the Actable CTF track. Um, so just before we move forward, essentially the agenda for tonight. We won't be able to do all of the challenges. I believe we're going to be doing two or three web challenge, and then we're going to move over to we're going to have a short break, 5 minute break as usual, and then we're going to move into forensics. So we might do one or two more web challenge and then move completely into forensics. And basically, for those who don't know, my name is Tony Roy. I also go by the name of the handle Psycho, or short for Psycho Slave. I am an EGPT certified. I also hold a couple of Microsoft and Barracuda certification. I used to be Nortel NCTS certified, and one of the last guys to be certified, as a matter of fact. Um, so, and I'm currently working on more Barracuda certification and even more Microsoft certifications, um, which two of them, one of them or two of them I failed actually, as of late. I mean, these things happen. I'm not 100% sure if the labs are only included in VIP, or not included in VIP or VIP plus. Might be something for me to look into. I'm not 100% sure. I I do believe that you have to be at least VIP to get access to them, though. Um, and I've been working on the CPTS as well from Hack the Box as of late. I've switched from the CBBH. I thought the CPTS or yeah, CPTS actually is more in line with the type of work that I do, and because of that, I basically moved over there. So we're still looking for presenter, organizer, moderator, designer, whatever. If you do something, or you think you can elevate this stream with your skills, by all means, hit me up and we'll have a chat. If it's for presenting, usually the way we do it is we'll have a little presentation, just two of us, and then if everyone's comfortable, all party. I mean, we would move forward with scheduling the event, and you'd be presenting. I would be basically leading as I do. So you wouldn't be there on your own. Maybe that's and that'd be basically just guiding through. We did have one where we had a guest there, but turns out whenever and I was in the process of publishing some of those videos. I have a little bit of editing to do on those, and it seems my machine is not good enough in the like video editor in YouTube. Like once you edit it, it doesn't want to. It's a mess anyway. Um, so I'll have to get myself a new computer to be able to do those video edit efficiently and at least look half decent. So video is still in sync with the audio and everything. Because yeah, that's not cool. Um, Perfect. And next month, I mean, I haven't picked so far what we're gonna do next month, but if you guys like these little CTF challenge, perhaps we can do some more. I was working on others, more basically trying to finish the Hack the Boo CTF track. Um, but I mean, it's up to you guys. You should say it in the Discord or shoot it in the comment or whatever. I do read those comments, and I'll be more than happy to go forward with whatever the community likes. Um, as for the skills that we need for the CTF, uh, I think basic Python skills, depending. I mean, some of the crypto. I think you need to know a little bit more Python. I, I'm probably not good enough with Python yet. You have to know how to do server-side template injection attacks, so SSTI attacks, XSS knowledge, so basically cross-site scripting, good understanding of PHP, essentially. And I'm more going with what we're gonna do tonight. Essentially, good understanding, meaning that you have to understand comparison, loose comparison versus strict comparison. Um, as for the tools, we're gonna be using just a regular Firefox browser. We'll be using Zap, um, Foxy Proxy, just so we can toggle easily, but it's totally optional. CyberChef just to decode some of the data we're gonna get. Um, Tonight we're gonna be using a site called webhook.site. Essentially, it's just used to exfiltrate data. Usually, I use something else, like I have my own um, DNS web server that I can use, but Sorry, I figured that it's not everyone that has access to that. We're also going to be using Wireshark for some of those forensics there. All right, so I guess we can move forward. Let me just change the screen here. Perfect. And the very first one we're going to be doing is this one here, Spookifier. Um, and we're basically greeted. We got the Docker instance as well as we're able to download the files. So I've already went ahead and downloaded all the files, so I don't need to do that. Um, and I mean, the first thing I usually do is I'll poke at the website. So I'll just load up Firefox and just throw the IP in here. And I mean, there's not a whole lot to this site, right? There's nothing to be clicked or anything. It's just there's just an input field and a button, and essentially it seems like it applies fonts to those. So I mean, the, usually I would try like the usual SSTI attacks, and I think this is where you need to be a little bit more creative with your payloads here. So I mean, the the day that the challenge got the day that the challenge got released, I was not able to solve it right away. But turns out I was not looking at the right template injection. So that being said, if we move forward to the code, you can see why I'm saying this here. So if we go to the web and it's the Spookifier, and essentially we're just greeted with the Docker file. So Docker doesn't do a whole lot. We start from a Python Alpine container, and we just had supervisor. We install pip. We install Flask. We move the flag to the root folder, and then from there we run that the entry point file. Um, and the entry point usually we'd have to look into the maybe we don't have an entry point for this one. Um, yeah, so the entry point is straight up the Python app. So if we look back, basically what it does is it creates that app folder and it moves everything to that. It moves the challenge to that folder. Um, all right, so if we move forward into this, so there's the RunPy, and essentially what it does is just a web server. It serves that. So if we move into the application folder, because it seems to be calling application.main. So let's go into the application and look at the main function here. And in here, we can this is what I missed straight up from the bat. Like, it does say it's a Mako template. And if you look up online Mako template, it doesn't take those double curly brackets like those. Um, Actually, the way it works is it only takes the one curly bracket, but it needs the dollar sign in front of it, and then you can see we get the number 9 here. Um, so I mean, now we know that we're able to do some injection, but and the reason being that we're able to do that injection is that if we look deeper into that util, um, essentially it all breaks down that it goes to route calls these util commands, and in this util command you see that it calls these things, and then it basically calls the generate render function, um, and from that it renders a template. Usually that tells us that it might have be vulnerable to template injection, and the we can see right at the top here that it uses Mako template for injection for the template engine. Um, so based off of that, I mean it's straight up Python. So what if we try to open like a well-known file on this system here? So we're gonna open and we're gonna throw it with the read function, and just gonna close the curly bracket. And if we run that, we can see that we definitely got something, right? We got the something we're looking for. So perhaps if we do the curly bracket and we do the same payload again, we want to read or open this file, uh, and it's should be sitting at flag.txt essentially, um, and we just read it, we should be able to get that flag, and there it is. And just to confirm that we got the right flag, we're just gonna click on it, gonna submit it, and give it a rating. So I guess that was the right one. So perfect. Let's move to the second web challenge here. Aura feeds. Um, for this challenge, again, we have access to the source code. Again, the first thing we're gonna do, like these, is we download the code. I already did that, so we don't have to do this. Just gonna make sure that we're setting in the right folder here. So web, and it's Aura feeds. Perfect. And we're gonna start the Docker instance. Now we have that started. We're just gonna go in here. Perhaps I should turn off my proxy so I just don't flood my burp with a whole lot of stuff. So if we come to the web page, we can see that we're getting this login page here. So this is quite interesting. So and I mean we can type like a name, and can try to log in, but I mean this user doesn't exist, so perhaps I don't know, admin. Let's try to log in with that. All right, so another thing that you can see is this register button here, but now I guess that's we probably want to turn on the burp. I should have left it on. Um, and this these register buttons, sometimes what they don't realize is that they allow you to enumerate the users. So if we try to create, let's say, the user psycho, and we register, we just user just registered, right? Now if we try to do that again, it says the users already exist. Okay, well, I wonder if there's another user that might be interested in it. And sure enough, I mean, the admin user sure exists. Um, so if we take a look at what's going on here, let's take a look at the code. Perhaps we can get an understanding of what's happening. So again, we get the Docker file. This Docker file is just basically a Python, the regular Python, install pips, and installs MariaDB, just MySQL database. Um, Install Flask and all these dependencies, copies the flag to the root directory, creates the app folder, moves all the challenge file. All right, I mean we're used to this by now, right? If we look at the entry point now, essentially it just finishes to complete the initialization of the database. Just pumps. It creates a table, creates a user, and it basically pumps all the data or some data in there. So, and we can see the hash over here, but I can guarantee that it it it's not that easy to actually grab that hash from. This basically what I'm trying to say is that it's not a cracking challenge, so more than likely the password's not that easy to crack. Um, and we can see that it creates a user database over here. All right. Now, if we move through the challenge, again, does that run py that essentially is just a web server that calls this application in the main, right? Over here, we can see right away there's two routes, or two um, route prefix, if you want. So if we scroll to the blueprints folder, we can see there's a route here. Basically, all these are the routes for the application. So we got these three routes that are directly to the web component. So three web routes, and we got two API routes: the login and the register function. Um, I mean, this is is basically just showing. This is showing you the login page, and then if you're authenticated, you get this dashboard page. But essentially, what it does is it shoots at the flag, so the dashboard actually gets the flag somehow. Now, if we take a look at what that template does in here, we go to template and we look at the dashboard. Essentially, it shows all the stuff, and over here you can see that it checks if we're admin. If we're admin, it shows all this information about like firmware, right? And in one of the firmware, we sure enough we get the flag over here. So if we go back to the routes, over here we can see that it's calling these data commands, but or the login and register commands are actually being called. So we got the register, and if everything's good here, it just calls this register command, and same thing for login, right? It calls this login command, and where these commands are sitting, they're sitting in a file called database. So let's take a look at database here. So over here we would see the database file. We got the query database. Basically, it's just a wrapper for MySQL, right? Um, and then you got the login here, and then you got the register command. And the thing with these DB query DB thing is they're not likely to be vulnerable to SQL injection attack. And the reason is that like this string here, the actual the actual command, the select that's being done, it's being passed separately from the arguments. Um, so we're not building a string with something in it. But if we look over here, we got the F code here, and essentially what that is um, it's set to format a string. So it wants you to format a string. Um, and over here we can see that the query is being built differently. So essentially these values, users and the hash, which is the password hash, is being passed separately. So it like, but not separately, but within the string. So let's look at this closer over here, right? So if we come into burp and we'll look at the history, basically we registered before, but right, we see the register here. The command or the users already exist. But what if, like, we see the code that's right here. So what if we try to close that code here? See what it does. So we're gonna have to send it to the repeater, and then we go into our repeater. Over here, we're gonna escape the code and then do a code. So just so that it doesn't break the JSON, right? And when we send that, we get this error. And sure enough, I mean, it's being nice enough that even encrypts the password for us, right? If I put admin in here and I send it back, you're going to see that value here changes. So evens give us the hash. Now, we'll keep that hash for later use because we'll need that one, right? So let me just copy that and paste it here somewhere. Right? And now we have the hash is basically this admin hash, right? Because anything we throw in here, it's going to be different. If we throw something else, we get this weird hash. So we're doing this SQL injection, but if we look again at the code, I mean, MySQL is not like Microsoft SQL where you can just chain queries. Like Microsoft SQL, you could just put like a semicolon over here and just enter another query and another semicolon and another query. It doesn't care, right? As long as it has the semicolon, you can throw just as much queries as you want within the same one. MySQL doesn't work like that. Now, if we take a look at the the MySQL documentation. Now, this is where you need to be a little bit savvy on MySQL to be able to get this one. But if we take a look at the MySQL documentation, we got this feature over here. It's called insert on duplicate key update statement. And if we look closely what it says over here, it says if you specify an on duplicate key update clause to a row that's inserted that would cause a duplicate value in a unique index or primary key. I mean, that's basically what's going on here. Like, and we can confirm that. Like, if we look at this database, right? How the database was being built earlier in the entry point. We see that it's the username has a unique key. So if we hit that unique constraint, like we might be able to do something over here. So let's take a look at this again. So as long as we have this at the end like a clause, like it's basically like a where clause that we can include at the end of the query, right? If we get the unique index, get the duplicate value, in this case, if we try to update or we try to create the re-register the admin user, well, we're able to do an update on the old row. Whoa, this is interesting here. So basically, if we look at this here in burp, so that means that if I get this here, this word clause, and let me just try to craft something here. So I'll go with the admin in here because I'd like to keep the admin, and you'll know why later why I took that route. So if we do on duplicate key update password is equal to, now we're just going to escape this again, and remember that hash that we kept, we're just going to take this one. So it's basically admin that's being hashed. So we're going to throw this in here. Right? And now we're going to do this here. See what that does. Oh, it says that the user already exists. So we're still let's look at the code here, see what's going on exactly. So we're in this register command. So essentially, this query, the first query that's built correctly, right? That's the one we're hitting, and because it's built correctly, it only checks the username, right? It sees that the admin user gets a results, and because of that, it doesn't work. Now, all right. So if we just put some random garbage in here, and we just update this to be using the, let's use the, so it doesn't really matter what the password we're gonna put in, because we're gonna update it, right? So essentially what I did here is we have this query, and I used to just provided the username and injected in the hash value, but that didn't work, right? We proved that. Now what I'm gonna do is, well, I need to complete this query, right? Because we need to inject on um, that on duplicate key update statement at the end of this. And since we're injecting here, well, we'll need to put all of this over here. And that's essentially what I'm doing here. Is I've put in the username, and now I put in the fake password. I close the parentheses for that thing here, for that very thing right here, right? And now I put in the on duplicate key update. And what I want to update, well, I mean, I just want to update the password. Why not, right? Because that's, And now because this old string, the whole thing here, there won't be a user that has this old the whole thing here as a username. So because of that, that very first query here will return false. And then this query gets run. And let's see what that does. So we just put in the query in here. We put in to comment because we just want to comment it. Doesn't really matter what we put in as a password. And if we send the query, it says the user has been registered. Please log in. So let's go back to the web page. I mean, we registered earlier with the Psycho username, right? Psycho, and the password Psycho. And in the code, we already proven that if we go to the dashboard, like we don't get the flag essentially. Like we get the feeds, we get all these video feeds, but we don't get the flag we're looking for. But now the query we just did is what we did is we told it that if we try to register a username that has the admin username and that username actually exists, well, we want to change the password of that user to the hash that we given, and it's basically just admin. We just rehashed the admin. So that's neat that the system actually did the hashing of the password for us, because we don't really need to do all of that, right? And if we click the login, because we changed the password, well, now this feed here is going to look a little bit different. And if you notice where the MAC address is, we actually got our flag. And again, to prove that we got the right flag, I'm just going to go ahead and submit it in here. I'll give it a score. And there we go. So we're just going to take a 5-minute break. And we're going to be back to hit the juggling facts and the cursed secret party. I really want to hit those two here because they're really good. I'd like to touch these two forensics, but we might not have time to do it. So we're going to go on a short 5-minute break, and once we're back, we're gonna try to be doing these challenges. Thanks. All right, guys. I hope you had a short break there. Grab a drink of coffee or water, anything. Yeah, perhaps coffee at this time of the night is not the greatest thing, but I'm on coffee right now, so so what? All right, so if we go back to our challenges, we have juggling facts here, and this is a very fun challenge. As a matter of fact, I like this one very much. Um, I, w- I was not able to solve it during the CTF. I was totally looked at the wrong place. But I knew what the attack was. I just didn't know where to hit it. And it's a very interesting one because I'd like to think I know PHP quite a bit. I've done development for on PHP for many years, and well, this one was still a bit tricky for me to solve. Let's just say that way. Um, so once again, we're provided with the source code and the instance. Let's take a look at the website here. Um, if we go to this website, we're just being, it's just pumpkin facts, all right? So we got spooky facts, we got not so spooky facts. I'm not sure whether those facts are true or not, but I mean, they're on the internet, right? So who are we kidding? Uh, this must be true information, right? And if we click on the secret facts, it says we only can be accessed by the admin. All right. So now, if we look at these requests into Burp, we see it calls this API getFacts um, with this type spooky, not so spooky, and secret, right? Um, and well, perhaps this is this is the only thing that it does, right? So let's take a look at the website. We have access to the code, so let's take a look at the site here, what it looks like. So web and what are they called? Uh, juggling facts. So if we look again, we're in this container. Just this time, it just installs like a plain Alpine Linux. It creates the user www. Um, it adds the MariaDB. Sorry, install PHP, and it's basically just setting up the stuff at this time. Let's take a look at the entry point. And the entry point, we're basically just doing inserts on the database, and all of these facts are basically just a row, and with the type associated with it. And looking up, sure enough, we have the flag over here. So it's just a matter of getting to the secret, right? Um, so if we take a look at how the application actually works, um, so we got the index here, and essentially everything's being auto-loaded by this blob of code here. It just checks and makes sure that it loads all these code, and then there's two routes. One's being called on the index controller, the other one's on the index on the index controller, and the other one's called the getFacts on the index controller. So let's take a look at those. So we're going to go into controllers, and we want to take a look at the index controllers, right? So index controllers here, what we see is index is just basically calling the view index, and and over here it's decoding. So it's taking the current input, basically the web page, the body of the request, and it checks whether the array exists, it's empty and everything, and then over here it checks whether the type is secret. It also checks whether if the request comes from localhost. And if it does, it displays the message that it can only display the message, or it can only ever be accessed from localhost, right? And then there's a switch over here, and this is what I didn't understand. Like these if over here, they are they are being strict. Like there's the double equal with the not sign, and the triple equal over here. So what could be at fault? Well, again, if we take a look at the PHP documentation for switch, um, it tells us here, and right at the top it says, note that switch case does lose comparison. So it does lose comparison, meaning that, well, if we got this with this table over here saying what is lose comparison. Well, everything basically, if it compares something with true, well, true is equal to true, one's equal to true, minus one's equal to true, a string that's one is also equal to true, a string that's minus one's equal to true. Any string's actually equal to true, right? If you do the strict comparison, well, only the middle one is ever true, because on top of doing the value, like it checks whether the value matches, but also checks if it's true. So yeah, one can be evaluated as true, but the type is actually an integer. It's not a boolean, so it doesn't match. So that's what strict comparison does versus loose comparison. But now, because this switch over here does that, right? So essentially, all of those, it's the same thing as, well, if type is equal to secrets, right? But only with using two equals. Well, let's take a look at that that matrix again. So if we have a string and we wanted to evaluate the true, what else can we give it to? Well, we could give it a string, but look over here. If we give it a true, any string will actually be evaluated as true, right? We can actually test that out. So let's give it that a try. And this is where this got me, essentially. So if we take this and we send it to the repeater, like I was trying to get to this type equals secret. Turns out it was just as easy, because secret is the very first one. It's being the first evaluated, right? So if we look at this code again, because it's the very first one, it's the very first one being evaluated. This would not work if not spooky, or spooky would be the first one, because it would evaluate this one as true, right? And we wouldn't get the rest. But let's take a look what we do if we evaluate it and put the true over here. It basically just gives us the secret, right? So type juggling is dangerous. It sure is. Because we didn't know what this string looked like, and we just give it a value of true, and we were able to get this flag over here. Maybe we don't get the right flag. No, I know we do. Uh, if I just click the right button, it'll be good. All right. The next one's a little bit complex. We'll see if we have time later on. I really want to do those two forensic ones first, um, before I move ahead and do the last web challenge, Curse Secret Party. Um, while this one's very easy, it does involve a lot of moving parts. So, but these two here are fun, and I like to have a little bit diversity because if I do the Cursed Secret Party right now, I probably won't have time to do the Spooky Season and Halloween Invitation. So let's do those. And I mean, if you guys like this format, we can perhaps next month we can finish this off and see if we can see if we can finish the CTF. Probably not, because some of those reverse engineering ones take quite a bit of understanding, quite a bit of time working through them. It'd still be fun though to do like a couple, or even if it's not the Hack The Boo CTF, if it's another one, should still be fun. Um, we'll take a look because next month more likely it won't be totally at the end of the month because it'll be holiday season. Um, chances are I'll be either working or spending time with family. Um, so because of that, we probably will have it a little bit earlier than usual. I usually do it at the end of the month, but we'll have it earlier. Yeah, that's what I figured. That's why I did, and I easily did it. It took me quite a while to make up my mind. That's why I kind of announced it a little bit. I announced the stream a little bit late. Um, but I'm glad you guys like it. We'll do more then. So essentially, for this wrong spooky season, I did already download all the this files, and it's pretty straightforward. This one's it's fairly straightforward. I think it's fairly pretty easy. I even learned something that I didn't know about, that I'll show you guys. So if we go to the forensic wrong spooky season, so I used to search in here and like try to search what was actually data or whatnot. Turns out you can just go to statistics, you click the protocol hierarchy, and you see all these requests. It tells you basically what they are. If you double click on the data, or you right click on it, apply filter and selected, and you close this, all this data is basically here. So you right click on it, follow TCP stream, and you get all the commands that's basically been run as part of the reverse shell. Now, if we take a look at this here, so it's looks like it's sending some command, but it's weird. The equal signs are at the beginning. But if you look at this reverse command, essentially what it does is it reverse the text. So let's take this here, right here, copy this, and since we already have this, we can close the Wireshark. We're just gonna, oh, just gonna copy it back. Oh, perfect. And if we had this base 64 decode at the end, it basically just tells us what the what the flag is, like straight up. So it's pretty simple. So essentially, what it does, it's a base 64 that's been reversed. So we reverse it again, and we hit it with the base 64 decode, and we get the flag. This one was pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Um, Piece of cake, right? All right. Now let's do this other the Halloween invitation. So it's again, it's only files that you download. Um, so once we have this file downloaded, it basically turns out that it's a document, right? So this one I was able to solve it, but I had a whole lot of heck lot of more trouble solving it than what I did here. So I guess that's the easy way. I wasn't aware that you can use the Oli VBA script. So Oli VBA basically, if we give it the forensic allo invitation docm, so I changed the name of the file just so it's easier for me to track. And we can see all the script basically it's up here. So this is the macro, the malicious macro that's being executed. Now it's all being obfuscated and it's weird. It's so one thing that we can do is if we look at Oli VBA, if we run it with the elp command, it gives us a couple of options and options that basically of interest here is this one here, deobfuscate. So basically, it tries to deobfuscate any VBA code, and there's the reveal, display the macro code after replacing all the obfuscated strings. So these two options basically go hand in hand, if you ask me. So you run the deof command, and then the reveal, one after another, and it runs, and you get this over here. And I mean, you could run this command and whatever, but here's how I did it. I just took this and I just opened the text editor. I threw that into the text editor in here, like this. And well, I said I want to strip out all of this, right? So all this stuff I want to remove it. So I copied it, search and replace, and I just want to replace it with nothing, and I want to replace everything. So it did that. Then what I did is I want to cut this out and I want this to be in line. So copy this and I said, well, you're going to search for this, which is quote single quote, double quote, and a parentheses and a enter. And I just want to replace it with space, right? And we're going to replace everything around. So now we're left with all of this junk here. Now, if we take a look, if we look at these here, we can see that there's B's just randomwares, right? There's one right here. There's one here. There's one here like between two ones. And at first, what I did is I replaced them with spaces. And oh man, that break up the whole thing. You're not able to decode it. So essentially, you need to replace them with nothingness. So if we do a search and replace, and we remove the space, and we just replace all of this, we're left with all these numbers. At first, these numbers might look weird, but in a CTF like this, right? They're not too bad. Like something we can work with, right? So if we go to security, we'll go to the CyberChef. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm just gonna paste all those numbers in here. You see, CyberChef doesn't know what it is, but we do, right? Those are like sometimes you see those in X format, and it would make a whole lot more sense, but in decimal format, it doesn't always make sense. So if we do from decimal, we can see that we're being left with some base 64 here. So we'll go to base 64. We'll add this to our recipe from base 64, right? So we want to decode. Now we get all these dots here. I mean, we can easily take this. But I'm lazy, right? If we had hundreds of characters, it's hard to do that. Remove all the single dots. So we can just remove null bytes. And then you see all the code over here, and right at the end, HTTP easy macros. So that was another easy one. Um, I guess we do have time to do the last web challenge. So let me just submit the let's submit the flag over here. So this one's pretty easy, right? All right. So let's do our last challenge here. So this one's called Curse Secret Party. Again, we're being provided with the source code and the Docker instance. Um, so let's give it a start to the Docker instance. And I mean, this might look like a team, but we'll take a look at the page first, see what it does. Okay, so it's an RSVP form for a party. So if we enter our name, psycho, and email address, and what costume we're going to be wearing, it doesn't really matter, right? And we want treats. If we submit this, it says your request will be reviewed by our team. So over here, more often than not, I mean, when you got a CTF challenge and it says that something or we'll check it back. More often than not, it's like a cross-site scripting. So if we take a look at what was going on here in the request, you see we get the message. Our request will be reviewed by the team, basically. Our request, but in the headers, this all just jumps because more often than not, we don't see those content security policy header. And essentially what it is just it tells you like, see, this script source can only be loaded from this page, and styles or CSS like only be loaded from this page. The images can only be loaded from the website. Fonts can be loaded from Google Fonts or from ourselves, and everything else just load from ourselves. So what that does is it helps narrow down so you don't get cross-site scripting. It kind of provides you with cross-site scripting protection, right? Now, I'm not sure if you know what this GS deliver is, but if we take a look at the website, let's take a look at what the website is. Um, Essentially, it's like a CDN for open source. That's kind of weird. But I mean, I'm sure it's helpful and whatnot, but so you're able to load some source code from other pages, like, for example, um, GitHub. The trouble with that, I mean, it's a neat feature, but the trouble with that is that anyone can shoot code to GitHub, right? I can do it, you can do it, everyone can do it, right? Everyone can shoot code to GitHub. So if we take a look at the so at the source code, let's see what's going on in here. Because I can see a couple of things going wrong with that. So again, we got the Docker file. It's doing a bunch of install. It's including Google Chrome in the repository, and it's basically downloading it. Well, it means someone, or something is going to be browsing that web page, right? And then just regular stuff. Um, if we there's no entry point. If we take a look at the challenge, we got the index.javascript, and over here we can see that it's a nunjux. It's a framework. And it's running like an Express web server. Couple of different routes. Um, and basically what we want to see is if we take a look at the code, the first thing that kind of jump is that bot file, right? Bot.js. So this is a puppeteer, and puppeteer is usually it's an automation framework, so it's being used in automations. Um, and we can see that it loads a GWT token, and it reads our flag. Now it creates a browser instance, okay, an agentless browser. So basically, that prepares whatever is going to browse more than likely. But if you look at over here, that's basically where the magic happens. So here's the browser instance. It goes to creates a context and it goes to the web page. Just before it does that, it actually creates a token. So you create the username, the role admin, and with the flag, and it sets it in the cookie. So the flag is in the JWT token, or JavaScript web token, and then it's being included in the cookie. And then what it does, it goes to check the admin web page, and the delete all the web page. All right, so let's go to the routes over here and see what those are all about. So over here we have all the routes. We got the index, and we got the submit page the one that tells us that. Sorry about that. The one that tells us that our request will be viewed by the team, right? And then we got the famous or the admin page and the delete all admin page. So, and we can see that this here is being rendered. The admin page is being rendered. So data is being rendered within the admin page. So if we take a look at what the template looks like, so we go into the view and admin. So this is a for basically. This is a for loop. So for every instance it gets, it will show one of these. Now, we'll show one of these cards. Now, and it for each card it basically shoots this information into one of these. But this one here is different. It's being piped into safe. And you might wonder, well, what safe does? Like, what is it? Well, essentially, in this framework or in this template engine, the way that it's if you pipe it through safe, it's mean that it's not being code escaped, so the code's actually being executed. Well, that's a little bit dangerous, right? Unless you know that the user can't change that code, but in our case, we actually provide that code, that name, so it's not safe. But let's see how we can perhaps exploit that. So at first, I mean, we have to create some kind of repository onto GitHub. So I'll spare you with all the trouble. I mean, I've already did this part for you guys. So I created a GitHub repository called Curse Party XSS with the psycho.js in here. And essentially what the psycho.js, it fetches one of the hook sites. So, oh, wrong website. Copy link. Not sure if it's still active. It's still active, right? So let's delete this. Okay, so there's no request over here. So basically, when you browse to the website, it throws you into this one of these, and you can copy this, and you'll see if we browse this page, you'll see that we browsed it, right? This is our browser with all the information and everything. So, all right. Now, here what it does is that we have this JavaScript files. And as soon as we load it, it just fetched this URL and it includes its cookie in it. And we seen earlier that the cookie is what contains the Java web token. And that JavaScript web token actually contains that flag. So let's see how we can exploit the website to actually get our flag here. I might have oversimplified it just because we're a little bit running over a little bit, but it's not. I still wanted to take time to do it. So essentially, what we do here is that the payload. So let's take a closer look at the data lever here. Is that it says that if we do this, we should be able to load. So my username on GitHub is psychoslave. The repository is cursed party xxs, and the file is named psycho.js, right? Oh, I did a mistake. So that's why it's not fetching it. If I could type correctly, it would help. See, and it basically just displays the JavaScript. Now, if we take that URL, and we know we can load this code here in this website, so let's take a look. So we throw this in here, and we're just gonna throw plain Jane script tag, right? With all of this, and there's nothing in here, right? There's no queries. As soon as we submit that, we didn't check. I didn't show you, but there's a timer. It visits it every 5 seconds. So as soon as I click it, the bot visits that page, and we get the Java Web Token over here. Essentially, what the Java Web Token is just like base 64. So if we put this in here and we do from base 64, we see the algorithm, type username, the role, and we also get the flag. Don't allow CDN in your CSP, right? Because it might seem like a good idea. Like the idea might be good, but it kind of breaks the whole process, right? It breaks the whole idea of having these protection in place if you're just able to bypass them and get straight to the cross-site scripting attack. So I mean, overall, I think that this Hack the Boo CTF was pretty awesome. It was geared towards beginners, so with the challenges more leaning towards the easier side of things. Um, I kind of enjoyed those once in a while. I like these hard challenges sometimes, um, but I still like those smaller ones that it's just like something you should know basically, and um, just a matter of finding the actual vulnerability or whatnot. Um, so this is it for tonight. I hope you like this format. I mean, like I said, if you do like it, we'll have it. We'll do it once in a while. I don't mind. I like this. I like this concept as well. I don't have to write as much of a of a walkthrough. And Also, I've been told that with the active boxes, I won't be able to give up the write ups anymore. I shouldn't have been given that. I thought that I was allowed to give up just to the community. Turns out we're not allowed to give up the write-ups when the boxes are active at all. So it's just a misunderstanding on my part. I apologize, and we'll rectify it. So you got the video that you can always refer to. So as long as you keep the link from the RSVP, you can view back the video at a later time and follow up. That's basically what I was doing when I was following Hack the Box Ottawa back in the days, before I started my own Hack the Box Moncton channel here. All right, well, I hope you guys liked the this meetup, and I hope to see you next month. In I'll try to post within the week there, within the next week or so, the date of the next meetup, because it sure will be before the holidays. I know most of you guys probably won't be able, including myself. Um, so I hope you have a good evening. It was great seeing you all, and keep hacking. Bye bye.